Alright, Arnes, since our last list has been doing so good of my top 10 favorite Godzillas in my collection, I think we should do something a little bit different, something I don't really talk about a whole lot. My least favorite Godzilla toys in this collection. Because listen to Branches, welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve.
My name is Arnes.
And today we're going to be doing that. I don't really like talking about it because it's really hard to bash on figures. I've done it before, don't get me wrong. Super important reviews. There's things in my collection I really was not very impressed with.
A lot of
Mainly like that stuffed animal over there.
Yeah. A lot of them are Transformers too, so.
Yeah, I also don't really own them anymore. Yeah. But with Godzilla stuff, it's one of the things, like, there's like a lot of my collection, like, especially that isn't kaiju related, I could see myself getting rid of eventually. Or if I wasn't very impressed with the figure, I tend to get rid of them. But Godzilla, no matter what it is, I generally keep it.
Trust me, Steve has a lot of crap Godzilla here stuff.
You shut your mouth.
You can see this
room. You know how hard it was to make this list?
If you can see this room, man, you know what I'm talking about.
They have. Granted, there's a little bit more in this collection than previously. Yeah. But there's a few little stinkers in this collection, though.
Like that thing. What is that thing?
They won't know. He's talking about the NECA. That thing's fine. It didn't make this list. Also for this list, we're going to be including the 98 Godzilla figures too, because originally when that film came out, it was a Godzilla film. No, it's a Zilla film as of now. But still going to include the action figures because they say Godzilla. So we're just running with it. Number 10. What we have here is the 12-inch Bandai Creation Godzilla Final Wars Goji. Now, the reason why I made this on this list is not because I hate the figure, because overall I actually really don't mind it, which is kind of the low end of this list. Our figures I don't really mind. My problem is, does this thing look like a Godzilla Final Wars figure to you? Does it? I kept getting complained on Super Important Reviews so many times. I kept saying he was from Mechagodzilla. Because he has some of the same traits as the Mechagodzilla Goji suit. But no, this is supposed to be Final Wars, even though that head sculpt is definitely not.
So did they body from one and head from the other?
Yeah, so it's just, he's a very confusing Godzilla. So that's why he's number 10. I don't really hate him. Like, he actually has a lot of nice details, and the paint job is actually pretty good on this thing. But he just is very confused on his identity.
That's why we're not bashing him, because of that reason.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like, I can't really hate on him fully. That's why he's going to be so low on the list. But he's just, I got some concerns. Then now I just got some animosity because of reviewing, so it's one of those things. Alright, so for number 9, what do you think's inside of this egg?
Spoiled chicken?
Nope. What we have inside of here? Baby Godzillas! Alright, so essentially what you just have here from the Treadmaster line, I just chopped the eggshell, is these little baby Godzilla figures. Now, I actually don't mind these things in terms of detail. Like, there is a Godzilla, there's Rodan, actual Godzilla, I got a Mothra, and also King Ghidorah. Now, in terms of being figures, they're not really that bad, because they're just pretty much just tiny versions of the kaiju. Most of them aren't very deformed. Like, they actually kind of look like the kaijus, except for Mothra is kind of very chibi-ish. But then get Baby Mothra. Should be a larva. Not come out of the egg full form, you know? It's kind of not accurate, but I get it. The thing is when you're a kid, is this the kind of Godzilla toy you want, though? Is this what you want to be playing with?
Well, yeah, man. I'm going to put that in the egg and just, as a 5-year-old, just put it on my shelf and just leave it there, you know?
Yeah, you totally don't want the ones that, even the slightly bigger ones that roar, or the eyes kind of light up, or even just
time, you know?
Have some articulation, you know, or just actually some depth, not just a piece of plastic.
Oh,
yeah, it's just, for me, these are very disappointing figures, and the only reason I have them is just to look good on my shelf. Not to mess around with, which it kind of defeats the purpose of a toy. Okay, so for number 8 is actually the most recently acquired figure in my collection, which is the Bear Model Godzilla 1954.
Steve, that should have been a number 1.
Yeah, maybe. My main problems I have with this figure is, mainly, it's just not a very pretty toy. Like, I get it's supposed to represent the Ballmark figures in a way, but I kind of wish it was, if it's going to look slightly deformed, I kind of wish it was just more colorful, kind of like the Marmots. Like, I don't really mind those as much because They're visually appealing, look cool on your shelf. Well, this guy is just very black. He's very dark. He's very gloomy. It's very terrifying looking. And it's just like he's got this weird looking little train thing that he came with, short stubby tail. And he's just not very visually appealing.
Yeah, that thing looks amazing.
And the worst thing too is on this list, he's probably one of the more expensive figures initially when you buy him.
What?
Yeah, like I forget what Jessica paid for him, but I want to say it was somewhere in like the $50-$60 range. Yeah, the train.
Unacceptable. Who would pay?
Well,
$60?
some of the figures on this list might be more nowadays, but initially in the first production run, this guy's definitely a little bit disappointing.
Who paid $60 for that?
My wife.
What's the matter with you two?
Alright, so for number 7, we have here is the NECA 1984 Godzilla. The reason why he's on this list is mainly because it's just another one of those like disappointing figures.
When you get this point of view, he looks like a gorilla's face, like this side right here. I swear to God, it looks just like a gorilla right here.
Yeah, it's just like they kind of got the head sculpt down on this guy. But like the dorsal spine's really short, his body's a little bit deformed, his arms are thin, legs are thin. He's just a very unorthodox looking version of the 84. Like, it's not what I'm really looking for in terms of the suit. But then again, it's definitely one of the more easily affordable 84 Godzillas to pick up though. Because this kaiju usually commands a pretty hefty price tag with any other figure that comes out. Like you have the 50th anniversary memorial box set 84 that goes for usually, I think, 200-ish.
Oh, good job, NECA. We appreciate your efforts.
Yeah. Look, it's better than what we got initially with the production run. And the reason why I'm not zooming is just because you guys have probably did a review for it, super important reviews, if you guys want to see it there. But it's just like, it just doesn't work quite as well for me. Like, over time, it just keeps moving farther back on my display stand.
Oh, sad day.
Especially when I got the Marmot, this guy just kind of lost all interest in me. Then I really, really need to get the Memorial one. Though I know there's bootlegs, so that might be a thing. For number 6, we have my Imperial bootleg Godzilla.
Passive, let me see this thing.
What he is, reason I call him a bootleg is because he looks like the Imperial, and he has no markings. None. Like, the Imperial Godzillas all have markings on the bottom of their foot, even the slightly smaller ones. And you guys know on my top 10 list, he was actually number 1. The large-scale Imperial Godzilla, just because it's a figure I've had the longest, I played with it the most, I just have a lot of sentimental feelings towards that Godzilla. Well, this guy, not so much. I've also had quite a few versions of this guy I picked up at, like, flea markets, yard sales, stuff like that. But the main thing is like, I really don't mind the Imperial aesthetic. Like, I think, like, the silver on his chest is kind of cool. And same on the back, but he's missing the lipstick. The most important thing about the Imperial Godzilla. And it's just like, it's just not very impressive. I can't mess around with it with any other figure. He's just kind of a standalone guy, and they even messed up on his eye paint.
So what is that, like the Jane Silent Bob part is like with his lipstick, like would you...
Yeah, pretty much. I like to think it's the blood of his victims. Or it's just the prettiest Godzilla at the ball.
Maybe his feminine side's coming out, you don't know.
Something like that. Number 5, we have the Diamond Select Godzilla 1974 bank. The reason why it's on this list is because this is not the prettiest looking Godzilla. Not
by
at all.
far. Oh my god.
I'd say in terms of the 54, or my show Godzillas and just like my Japanese in general, he's definitely the worst looking of them. Like, it's just the detail work isn't really there.
Oh man, that looks epic.
Did a review for my Super Import reviews where I said, like, it's suitable. Like, if you really don't have a 74, it's fine. It's $30. It's relatively large figure. But for me, and with a lot of the Godzillas in my collection, he just doesn't really work well for me. Like, you really have to be looking at him at certain angles for him to really have any merit.
Oh god, this angle's not working for me.
And with the other banks, he's just too small. Like with the Mechagodzilla bank. Grabbing it real quick. As you can see, the Mechagodzilla bank is definitely larger than the 74, which in the film,
and
they were the
better
same
details.
size. Yeah, and it's just better looking in general. Even though they took some liberties on it, it still looks cool.
I like how in Steve's collection, all the bad toys are right here in the hand reach.
I know, right? Yeah, all the good-looking ones are in display cases. It's crazy, right? Or are high up on the shelf. Then we also have the Jet Jaguar, who's also a larger figure than this guy as well.
But Jaguar is a human-sized robot. How can
Jet Jaguar actually looks like it's a nice, cheap alternative to an X Plus. This guy isn't.
But
if you got the money, pick up an X Plus one.
But Steve,
or just a Bandai vinyl version.
The detail looks amazing on it.
Shut up!
Looks like the mold broke while they were making it.
Well, that might be a good excuse. Alright, for number 4, we have the Bandai Godzilla 2014 Tailstrike Godzilla. Whee!
I don't see why this is number 4, man. This thing's epic.
For the most part, it's not very good looking. As you can see, compared to a lot of other 2014 figures I've purchased in the later years, they just look way better, but we mainly bought these ones because it was the first 2014 figures you could get, so you kind of just got them.
God, I remember that we were at Toys R Us when we bought them. That thing was epic.
Yeah, they got them. They put them out really, really early.
That's why we got them.
Yeah, I was like, the figures weren't supposed to come out till April, and I got them like mid-March. But they just like, it doesn't really look quite as good. He has this giant bulbous basketball in his stomach. And it's mainly for his gimmick where you move it side to side, so it's like you're rubbing his belly and he's happy.
The concept is cool.
Yeah, like, it can see this being a fun toy for a kid, but for a collector, no. Especially when he's only slightly cheaper than the NECA version.
Oh man,
which kind of transitions into number 3.
We should still do a review of this thing again.
Yeah, we should go back over it. Number 3, please.
Oh, but
I don't even remember this thing's official name.
But Steve, that can't be number 3. That thing is epic.
But this is essentially what we call Seizure Zilla. It's from 2014. It's the Bandai line. It's like Smash and Strike Godzilla, something like that. But essentially, same problems with the previous one because the detail work isn't a whole lot different, but for his gimmick. What you have here is he has a giant lump on his butt, and then when you push it in, he shakes, and if you shift it around, he starts spasming. That's your gimmick. That's your gimmick. This wouldn't even be fun as a kid's toy. That I can kind of understand. He wiggles his tail and smacks into things. That's pretty sweet. Also, the problem with these figures, they never put out Mudos. So, they never had anything to fight. So why do you need Smash and Strike Godzilla to be wiggling all over the place if he had nothing to fight? He has nothing to smash into. What are they going to do? Confront each other? Like, oh, how's it going? I'm going to wiggle my tail while I seizure all over top of you.
That looks like a two-way Godzilla.
Hi. I totally realized what I did. Love me.
I don't see what his problem is with these, man.
Yeah,
this is
like,
a great representation of 2014.
Very impressed with these.
Great representation, man. You should do a 2014 collection, and these are your top 2. It's definitely not the Spitfire one, or
the NECA, or the big NECA, or even the Jack specific one.
No.
The X Plus one.
Oh, I forgot these things were so hilarious.
So bad. Alright, so for number 2, Bandai Creations got Burning Godzilla. Things I had a problem with this figure. Number 2?
You're telling me your number 2 is a Burning Godzilla?
Yeah, I know it's depressing, right? Because it's one of my more favorite suits. I own an X Plus of the Godzilla, actually from Japan, the 2050 or the 25 centimeter one. So I meant to say.
Like, I know this guy.
Burning Godzilla, love it. And this is this is actually the earliest figure I've had of the Burning Godzilla mold. Is this guy, other than I only got 2 smaller ones. Issue is the detail work on this thing was never very impressive for me. It was one of those figures I kind of bought just because I didn't have a burning. And then every time I started getting more burnings, like the next one I would have bought that would have replaced this guy as the NECA one. And the NECA one was just the 1994, was just a reskin essentially, where they put the clear plastic on. It's still a better representation than this. Then I got the Monster Arts one, which went, don't need this guy anymore. And then the X Plus one also beats this guy.
No, you gotta, like, if you can see the details of this, which Steve will bring it up. Oh man, it's atrocious.
Yeah, the paint jobs is very lackluster. Dorsal spines aren't very cool. Head sculpt is freaking abysmal. And it's just like they didn't really put a whole lot of effort into it.
And this guy approves. See, he shakes his head, yes.
Yeah, it's sad when I like those things better than I like this guy. And it's just like, if you didn't have a Burning Godzilla, okay. It's just like my problem. It's the main reason I got it originally. But try to replace this thing as soon as possible. Okay, so for number 1, the main reason that this guy's on this list, not because I think it looks bad, because I think overall, like, the detail work on it's not too bad. It's actually a relatively large figure, and they put a lot of effort into it. Problem is, when I think of Godzilla toys, I don't think of this guy. Because what this is the battle action Treadmaster Godzilla. And what it does, and actually mine actually has a few issues because he's missing the battery compartment up there. And mine has a fudged up leg, which you can get to work, but it takes some effort. But what this is you have this giant handle on the top of your Godzilla, which got rid of all his dorsal spines. And what this handle does is it works as gimmick. So when you push the one button, his arm goes up and down, he would roar. One button, his other arm smashes. One makes his tail wiggle. And this one makes his foot stop. But the problem is my button for this guy doesn't really work right. So I have to tear it apart to get it to work. And the detail work on this thing isn't really all that bad. But my problem that I have with this figure is when I was a kid when I got this thing just sucked. There was nothing really to play with it because he's like a weird scale. And I already had the Ultimate Godzilla, so it just kind of he didn't replace that figure in my collection. And he's got like green scale and whatnot, so he's already the color scheme is not really working quite that well for me either. But like when you want to play with him, he kind of just stands there and that's really it. You can't really do much else because all these little gimmicks kind of get in the way. So like I can't really move his arm around a whole lot or play with it because just like this leg here, you got to worry about breaking it.
His belly looks weird, man.
Yeah, it's like he's got some abs. It's also got some pecs.
He's like, I'm working out. I'm jacked.
And this stand right here isn't even removable.
What?
Like, it is permanently attached to his foot.
I got this. Give me two.
So when you're a kid and you want to play with it, there's just not really a whole lot of options. Like, it's cool that he made a bunch of sounds and stuff, but that's really all he had going for it. And it's just a very lackluster toy. And then if you want it to sit on your shelf and look cool, it can't even do that right because it has this fugly looking handle on the top here that just really takes away from the figure.
You can't remove the handle?
Nope. Like, it'd be cool if you had the stand if he was just standing on your shelf. Like, okay, whatever, he's crushing some cars. But you have this that just really detracts from the overall figure. So it doesn't work good as a display item, isn't a very great figure, has very little replay value. It just sucks.
Poor guy.
Yeah, and
It's not even his fault.
Yeah, most Treadmaster figures I actually really like, especially with the 98 Godzillas. Like, most of those guys are actually really awesome. But this guy just never really got with me. Like, the only reason I still own it is just because I don't get rid of them. If anything, actually, I would like to fix it still, but it's just it's so low on the totem pole because I just don't care for it.
Yeah, he's definitely like, ooh.
Yeah, like the only solid for it is really the paint job is really nice on him. That's it. It's an easily breakable figure. It doesn't look good on your shelf. Can't play with it very well. It's just not much more I can say about it. It's just really disappointing.
It's depressing, man.
That's why That's why I beat the Bandai creation for number 1. Because at least the creation, like, if you did have a Burning Godzilla, I'd give it a seal of approval. Like, okay, whatever. I can't condone buying that thing even if you really like the 98 Godzilla.
How much you think that thing costs, though?
Here, I can get one for $40. And the guy has the box.
Damn, that's pretty cheap.
You could probably get it cheaper, too. Like, that's saying something, too, of how crappy of a toy that is. Because, like, the Faint Strike Godzilla we did over on Super Import Reviews recently commands a higher price tag.
And that's like 4 times the size.
Yeah, and that thing's way bigger. But it's just like, the other thing's cooler. I just like it better. Like, he has a nice stand. Detail work on him is nice. He roars. It looks nice on my shelf. That's all you need. But anyways, that is my top 10 worst Godzilla figures in my collection. You guys probably have a little bit of a different opinion.
He's saying no.
please let me know in the comments section below. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe to become a ranger today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.